After rewatching the original Spider-Man trilogy in preparation for the theatrical release of Spider-Man No Way Home, I also revisited The Amazing Spider-Man, the 2012 reboot of a franchise. How does it fare from today's perspective? Is it better than the earlier films? Hi there, it's Micha. Join me for this video to find out the answer. This movie also gives us a complete origin story, where this time, in contrast to the previous incarnation, Peter's parents are shown in the beginning.
You're gonna stay with your aunt and uncle for a little while. You'll be safe here.
Where are you going?
Something your mom and I have to do.
Right before he is handed over to his aunt and uncle.
I want to go with you.
There, we have to go.
Here it is unclear if his parents are currently dead or just hiding, which at the very least creates a different dynamic. Here he is also bitten by a genetically enhanced spider, but not on a field trip, but by following the trail of his father, who worked at Oscorp and likely was involved in the experiments that created the spiders that would turn Peter into Spider-Man. A former colleague and friend of his father, Dr. Connors, is continuing the work he started with Peter's father, with the goal of transferring genetical traits from one species to another. His personal motivation, regrowing the arm he lost in an accident. After Peter reconnected with Dr. Connors, they joined forces to perfect the serum. Again, we have a good man who is destined to become the villain. Not willing to do human experiments which the company demands to save the life of the owner, an off-screen Norman Osborn, Connors is getting fired. Desperate and under the impression that this is his best, last and only chance to fix his arm, he injects himself with a serum that turns him into the Lizard. A 7 or 8 foot high anthropomorphic lizard creature that is still able to talk, but is only guided by the will to permanently fix his physical shortcomings. As he views his transformation, complete with regrown arm, as only a temporary state to perfection. Therefore, at a certain point, he is not even interested anymore in becoming or staying human, but wants to permanently become the creature, as he considers this to be a superior form of existence. For the sake of a citywide danger, because a Spider-Man movie without the city in peril is not going to happen, he also develops the need to create more creatures like himself, by using a device that would deliver the serum to everyone in the city. This is where Peter has to intervene, feeling guilty for helping to finish the formula. And he also has help from his girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, as well as her father, the city's police chief. In this iteration of the Spider-Man saga, they basically seem to avoid as much as possible that was done in the prior version with Tobey Maguire. Likely the makers were aware that a reboot just 5 years after Spider-Man 3 was way too soon to follow the same formula. Obviously, it is never a bad thing to mix things up and go different ways, but here it almost felt too forced. They replaced MJ with Gwen Stacy, no Norman Osborn, though his company is in play, a villain not used in the original trilogy, the Lizard, and even bringing in his parents, who may show up along the line. I'm not even sure if they will, as at the moment I am scripting this video I haven't seen part 2 yet. And I know that a third part was planned, but then was shelved in favor of another reboot. This time as part of the MCU though. I guess they thought they couldn't leave out Uncle Ben's death though, so they at least tried to make it as different as possible, without completely changing it. Here, Peter, being angry with his uncle, leaves home at night, prompting his uncle to look for him. Then, not fully come into his powers yet, Peter is pissed about not getting a chocolate milk at a convenience store because he is 2 cents short, resulting in him not stopping the next guy stealing all the cash from the register. Of course, this thief runs into Uncle Ben and shoots him, but where in the comics and the prior movie series, this triggers guilt in Peter to become the hero his uncle would have wanted him to be, here it just sends him into a revenge rampage, becoming a hero merely by accident along the way, which is a bit unsatisfying. They seem to also try a more naturalistic, more realistic approach to the material, resulting in a different tone. As this is still a comic adaptation, this doesn't always work as planned and sometimes feels forced. On the other hand, they spend much more time on developing characters that are much more believable, where even his bully Flash Thompson is approaching him to give him his condolences. They even end up being friends at the end, which is a nice touch knowing that Flash also becomes a superhero in the comics. The first half of a movie, for all those efforts to change the setup, feels a bit rough, as well as just a collection of moments and not proper storytelling. This changes in the second half though, where the movie starts to really score points with the audience. At that point the better character development starts to pay off, especially with Gwen's role, as she is not playing a damsel in distress, but is actively helping to save lives. First by evacuating the Osborn Tower, and then by facing the lizard to get the anti-serum, which will later save the city. She is also more intelligent than MJ was portrayed in the previous movie, not only thinking things through, but also addressing them.
I'm in trouble.
Because as Peter tries to push her away, like the trope they used in the prior movies, she understands right away that he is bound by a promise he gave her father, and she straight on addresses it. While he initially continues to uphold the promise, the movie ends on the positive note of him whispering to her that the best kind of promises are those you cannot keep, which makes her smile knowingly before the credits start to roll. The fact alone how they handle Gwen's character is making up for a lot of the things that don't play out that well. Another plus is that people react more realistic regarding the opportunity to unmask Spider-Man. Everyone who has the chance to go for it immediately tries to check out who is hiding behind it. Something that bothered me a lot in the previous movie, where even a kidnapped Spidey wasn't unmasked. It is also heavily implied that Peter's aunt made the connection without him telling her his secret identity, which also makes for a more realistic human behavior. And the police chief, after dismissing Peter's claim that Connor's transformed into a giant lizard, still looks into the scientist, just to do due diligence. Nice touch. On top of that better character handling, you have a great cast, with some roles even filled with bigger names than in the original series, showcased by casting Sally Field and Martin Sheen as his aunt and uncle. Dennis Leary is also great as Gwen's protective father.
This guy wears a mask like an outlaw. I think he's trying to do something maybe the police can't. Can't?
Whose character is allowed to develop from a strict man of the law to someone joining forces with our hero for the better of the city. Of course, Emma Stone, as always, is very convincing and charming as Gwen Stacy. There are only some weird acting choices by Andrew Garfield, who sometimes sports strange facial mannerisms, but otherwise does a great job as well.
You know, if you're gonna steal cars, don't dress like a car thief. You a cop? You seriously think I'm a cop in a skin-tight red and blue suit?
Of course, the cast again is way too old for their roles, with Garfield being 28 at the time of shooting, even older than Maguire was in his first appearance, while Emma Stone was 23, while stating to her dad that she is 17. Emma might get away with it, while Andrew kinda looks his age, but what else is new? The effects are again better as in the previous movie, which was to be expected. They are mainly CGI and leaning into the more dynamic camera work, following the actors as they did in Spider-Man 3, but now the CGI looks even more convincing. I mean, the movie was shot in 2012, so they better look great. Let's get to the rating. As mentioned before, I struggled with this movie a bit in the first half, but was won over in the second. As I have literally no recollection of this movie from the first and only time I watched it in 2012, while I remembered the original trilogy, I also only watched once while they were screened in theaters pretty well. I guess the first time the movie wasn't able to connect with me. Likely it was just released too close to the prior trilogy. In any case, this time I enjoyed it, especially the latter half. This will overall still not make for a fantastic movie, but for a good one, with room for improvement. Therefore, I'm rating it with 7 out of 10 points. How did you like the movie compared to the original trilogy? Do you agree with my take on it? Let me know in the comments. That's it. As always, if you enjoyed this movie, like it and feel free to share it with your friends. And why not subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any future video. Make sure to also hit the notification bell to get a heads up whenever a new video is posted. So much for now, see you next time and thanks for watching!